Hello, and welcome to Why I Love Warhammer, the series where I go into an unscripted ramble about why I love something in this hobby. And on this episode, it's the White Scars. If you've been following along with this channel, they're actually the last Space Marine Legion that I've been filming. No particular reason. Everything was kind of numbered a bit arbitrarily, trying to keep a vague kind of distance between uploads between Space Marines versus Xenos versus Chaos versus Imperial non-Space Marines. Um, but it's a shame these guys had to be last because they are genuinely really fantastic. I like the fact that they're a bit different from the other Space Marines in terms of what they look like. I think that this kind of Mongolian horse rider thing they've got going on is genuinely very cool, and that they've adapted that to sci-fi. And let's face it, I love this eagle. I love this eagle on this model. I think it's just really cool. It adds something to them. It makes them feel a little bit more old school as well. I love this sword with the horse as the pommel. Really kind of brings home that theme. Also, I love the white armor. White armor is really hard to paint, so I have a lot of respect for people who can paint white armor and make it look good. So that's the short version of this video. But let's go through some of the models, just kind of bring it home as to why I love this faction so much. So this guy here, he's got the horse pommel, he's got a good sword, he's standing triumphantly, he's got an eagle on his hand. I think that's really cool. Falconry is a really cool sport. I think this guy really brings it home. He's also holding a head by the hair. It's a bit messed up, and that's cool. The bikers. White Scars are all about the bikers. You want to run as many bikes as you can if you want to have a fluffy, thematic White Scar list. I'm a sucker for the bikers, and I think they're really cool. I love what they represent in the hobby. I love how they work. I love how these Marines are holding a weapon while they're on their bikes. The guns on the front of the bikes, everything about them is so cool. Again, I would have if resources were no object, I would happily run an all bike army, and I don't have the skill to make it White Scar armor, but I'd happily make them a White Scar sub-faction and paint them up in a different set of colours. But I love these bikes, and they just thematically belong in White Scar armies. And if you're a White Scar player, I'm telling you stuff you already know deep in your soul. I think this guy's really cool. I think it's an interesting helmet, and Horus Heresy models are always very interesting anyway. But this pig helmet, there's something about it that I can't take my eye off. It's just disturbing in a really cool way. And the red highlights, I think, work really well with the white. It makes the models look really cool. It really stand out. And yeah, this pig face, I can't take my eyes off. I think it looks horrifying in the best of ways. These bikes, the classic bikes for the White Scars and Heresy, proper flying stands, which I always appreciate, flying around, Mark III armor, which is probably my favourite armor of Space Marine, but they also have the Lancers. I think there's something really cool about that, especially if you're going for like a bike, you're trying to be reminiscent of horses. Having straight up Lancers makes it feel like medieval jousting, and that really works well. I think that's just really cool for the White Scars to have, the lance of some description. Same deal here. It's a lance, but this guy's got a hammer as well. That looked quite cool. I think what would also work well is if you have like the curved swords, because those are historically very good for horse-mounted combat. At least so saith fantasy stories. This one I think is cool as well. Flying vehicle, but it's got all the guns. It's a sci-fi setting. Not everything needs to be a melee weapon, and so this range of guns, beautiful. These Terminators, again, these guys have those curved swords I was talking about. The ones that are kind of cool, that are historically, at least in fantasy, good for like horse-mounted combat. So it works well to have your Terminators have blades like that. I also think it's really cool having these weapons that can be two-handed or one-handed. I think that looks like, I just think that those look really cool for your models. And these Terminators as well, they've got so much personality. They're really dynamically posed. It sometimes feels like Terminators can be quite ploddy and static because they just move slowly, but these feel dramatically posed. They feel like they're in action poses, but not so much that you can't run quite a few and they'd feel samey. They just work really well as these very dynamic poses in a kind of not a battle line troop, but like your normal dudes. I think these Terminators look phenomenal for your White Scars list. This guy looks cool. I forget his name, but he's got the weapon I was talking about earlier, but with that classic White Scars color scheme. Really cool model. I like the eye patch. I like the hair. Cool model. More like this, please, because I think it's just really nice. This guy's got the bird and he's wearing a helmet. Perfect. I don't know why you'd ever take your helmet off. It's just asking to be, it's just giving your opponent a place to aim. But this guy's really cool. I love his gun, this kind of compound gun. He's got his sword behind him, and he's got the eagle. Love the eagles. I love animals in this setting, and this eagle is so well done. It just, other than that red eye thing, it just looks like a really good realistic eagle, which I just think is so cool. This guy here, he's got the stealth thing. He's got a cloak, and again, that rifle I think looks really cool. He's got all the aiming things. This one is just so. This one feels like a painting challenge, and one or two of those in an army is really enjoyable because it's something you can like put out front, and if you have shown people, you go, yeah, this model I'm particularly proud of, and it's a good one to admire, and yeah, it's not just a cool sculpt. I mean, they're all cool sculpts for the White Scars. There's something special about this one that feels really unique, and I like the cloaks blowing in the wind. It just feels very cinematic to me. And for a game where there's so much narrative to it, cinematic looking models can only ever be a good thing in my view. Okay, this is the final model I'm going to show off here. Shorter video, but there just aren't as many White Scars unique sculpts that I thought would be good for the video. This is Jaghatay Khan himself. I think this model is beautiful. Like, you can tell this was the last Primarch model they'd designed in the studio before doing more of the Ascended stuff, because it feels like they took all the lessons from their previous Primarchs they'd designed and really poured it into this model. It's elegant. It's so pretty. There's so much detail to it, but it's not a level of detail that feels insurmountable. It feels like a level of detail that you can paint if you've just had a bit of practice and you give it some time. I think it's a really beautiful model, and again, it's got the curved sword like he's going to be on horse or bike. And he's got this beautiful pack, beautiful cloak. He's got the scabbard that he's holding. It's so. He's also got like a metal thing at the top, but the whole scabbard isn't metal. There was a video about if you just have the metal at the top, you still get that lovely sound as you draw your sword, but you don't blunt your weapon as much. And I feel like that's the kind of poise that Khan would go for. Love these diorama bases. This destroyed, annihilated Death Guard model on the base, I think looks really cool. He just looks like he'd be an absolute joy to paint and an absolute joy to field. I can only hope we get one of him mounted so that he can really make use of that blade and you can really have that all bike legion. And yeah, I think it's just a phenomenal model and a phenomenal model to lead a genuinely beautiful range. And yeah, that's it for the White Scars. Comment question of the day is, which range would you love to kind of field, but the only thing really stopping you is that kind of painting skill level where you just don't quite think you're good enough to paint them. Like for me, white armor like this would be a step I'd find just a bit too challenging, even though I'd love to run White Scars. What's that for you? If you want to give this video a like, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you for watching to the end of the video. If you want to subscribe for more of this unbridled positivity, I'd really appreciate that as well. Share this around with any friends who you think might enjoy it. I've got a Patreon in the description if you wanted to support me monetarily. And with that, I will see you next time, and I hope you're having a really good day.